Well, good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Shahin Jurangpati.
And I'm Bandinja Singha. Very good evening to you. Let's now take a look at headlines.
Debate on the second reading of the budget gets underway in Parliament. Subject Minister states those responsible for Valikada riot should be punished despite their positions. Why the delay on the audit bill? Auditor General explains. Environmental organisation informs Court of Appeal releasing land from Wilpattu National Park has harmed biodiversity. Signs of petrol crisis returning to normalcy.
Yesterday marked 5 years since the Valikada prison riot in 2012. And Newsfirst reported on alarming revelations made by the committee appointed to look into the riots. We now cross over to the newsroom with a comprehensive report.
Prisoners are also human. That is what is said in front of the Valikada prison. A raid took place inside the prison which involved the police special task force, and 27 inmates were killed with scores of other inmates injured. Now an investigation was launched into this. 2 committees were appointed and their reports were handed over. And one report was given to the Prime Minister in June 2015. That's 2 years ago. The report, which now we possess here at Newsfirst, was given to the Prime Minister 2 years ago. In this report, it clearly says that the raid and the killing of 27 inmates was pre-planned, and the inmates were identified and thereafter assassinated. The question lies, what was this report doing for 2 years with the Prime Minister? An interesting thing inside this report is a page in this report reveals the then Commissioner General of Prisons, Mr. Kodipilli, stated the final decision to deploy the STF to conduct search operations in the prison facilities was taken at a meeting held in the Defence Ministry on the 17th of July 2012, chaired by the then Secretary of Defence, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Now there are questions regarding what happened that day at the Valikada prison. One is these images. Now these images are graphic in nature. That is why we have decided not to show the victims' bodies. As you can see here, taken in the morning, there is no weapon lying next to the body. The second image, there is no weapon lying next to the body. However, when we go to a close-up of these images, you can see something similar to a T-56 assault rifle next to these bodies. Right here, in the afternoon when these images were taken, there's an assault rifle, and here there is no assault rifle. This is just one such report. The report clearly states that the police special task force was instructed by the then Defence Secretary to go into the Valikada prison and conduct a raid. So the question is, how come an assault rifle was placed next to a body of a deceased later in the afternoon when there was no assault rifle in the morning? And the other question is, what was this report doing in the Prime Minister's office for 2 years? Charmika, is this the only report that has been with the Prime Minister?
That's a good question, but I don't think that's not the only report, because according to the Auditor General's department, or Mr. Vijay Singh, or the Auditor General itself, he says there are few auditor reports that was given to the government or given to COP or like other respective organizations, which has not taken into any account, or like they pretend that there is no such report. One is the bond scam. Everybody knows in the country that what's the loss that it has caused to the nation. And there's another one, that's the rice importing scam, which was done by CWE or the Satosa. Like, I'll show you the figures. The rice importing scam made a loss of 15 billion rupees. For instance, I will tell you the amount that is allocated by the budget for the central highway this year is only 10 billion. So this is larger than the central highways allocated budget. And the third one is call scam. Call scam that has made a 4 billion rupee loss to the Sri Lankan government. All these figures were given to the government or the respective organizations or agencies. not a single step is taken to correct this or charge it from the people who has done these mistakes. I think that may be the reason Mr. Vijay Singh, the Auditor General himself, says or feels like the government is intimidated, so they don't want to bring the audit bill soon as possible. That's a big promise which was given under the Yahapalne government, which still is like the whole nation is waiting, except those corrupted politicians.
I believe the Auditor General made a statement today exclusive to Newsfirst.
Under 19th Amendment, that has been given so much of power to the Auditor General Department to expand their work performance, work capacity, not only for financial audit, but performance audit, environment audit, procurement audit, like etc. etc. We have done so many cases, and normal routine we have to complete more than 1,500 audit report every year. So that process is going on. Apart from that, we have a special audit report also, especially that bond case we took a lot of time, and thereafter that coal case in the coal company, so that also has been already submitted to the parliament, and then rice import case, that's also a huge loss to the government. At the same time, there are so many other special cases has already been completed, and those has been tabled in the parliament, but reasonable action process has not been seen in those reports are concerned.
The rice scam, the coal scam, and the bond scam. Shehan, anything else?
It's also, we're looking at the Wilpattu Forest Reserve, the report with regard to that. Now we know that over 2,000 acres of land has been cleared, complete deforestation, and all of this for the sake of housing settlements. Now environmental organizations, civil activists, they've all gone to court to put a stop to this deforestation. We ourselves went and investigated. We went to Wilpattu and we saw for ourselves the vast amount of deforestation that's happened. Now the minister in charge, who is alleged to be involved in this, he made a statement, and he says that if a single inch has been cleared, that he will resign. Now, although within the forest itself there may be nothing cleared, it's surrounding it has been such a degree of deforestation. And then we look at the housing issue. Now, we went to see the houses that have been built by, for those who have been displaced. We're taking, for example, Jasim City, which is entirely funded by foreign aid. And we went to see these houses, and although there are issues with the houses themselves, we find that there's no one living there. So you have forests cleared, you have houses built with foreign aid, but there's no one living there.
So malpractices, corruption, marred with more and more impropriety, with reports coming out and no action taking place. The question from the general public is, when will action be taken on these reports with startling revelations?
Today, the debate on the second reading of the 2018 budget proved to be a lively one.
The taxes are not sufficient to repay the debt. Therefore, you have proposed to charge a special levy for debt repayment in the rate of 20 cents per 1,000 rupees on all transactions made through banks. At the end of that section, you have said this shall not be passed on to the customers. If you are not recovering it from the customer, how do you plan to collect 20 cents per rupees 1,000?
It must be paid by the bank and it cannot be passed on to the customer. The bank can reduce the amount from their income tax.
Can you assure it will not be passed on to the customer? You have imposed a tax on sugar, 50 cents per gram of sugar added to drinks. You have said this is because even children contract diabetes. However, you have removed the tax on beer.
Look at the study conducted by the Colombo University recently. 84% of regular alcohol users drink arak. In most developed countries, 84% drink beer, while a small percentage consume strong liquor. As a country, we should decide what we want to do. Should we go down the path of Saudi Arabia and not allow anyone to drink, or think practically and act on it? I don't see a problem in drinking a beer. It is better to drink a beer than to drink one of those sugar-filled drinks. A 40 milliliter bottle of drinks has over 100 grams of sugar.
Beer companies use nearly 300 sacks of sugar to produce beer. Look into the sugar content in beer. What about this then? We are imposing a tax because sugar is bad, but if you drink the sugar in beer, then it's okay. This is great. You can't create a blue-green economy with thieves. Do you think people who stole from the central bank did so because they love the economy? I believe that Enterprise Sri Lanka plan will end up becoming the Enterprises Sri Lanka Private Limited plan.
Private Limited Sri Lanka mattamata geeni kiyala.
The people who took these loans are in the opposition. They are never going to tell us how to repay these loans. As a responsible government, we have to come up with the methods to repay these loans. In 2019, we need to pay $4.5 billion US. How are we going to pay $3.5 billion US in 2020 and 2021? If we don't take decisions now, how are we going to repay these loans? We will face a big issue by 2019. With reluctance, we have had to impose a special debt repayment levy.
During the previous government, there was a high economic growth rate. We accept that. Then how did we have such a low income? How was income tax reduced? Who consumed these concessions and money? Who pocketed these returns? In 2014, income tax stood at 198 billion. Within 3 years, it rose to 308 billion. What happened to all this money? An investigation need to be launched into this.
The executive president of the country says that a small group within the government are slinging mud at him for appointing a presidential commission into the bond matter. If you want to pick a fight with the president, do it. Don't pick a fight with me. Don't become a member of this small group. They broke into the central bank. They broke into international banks. They destroyed the EPF and the BOC. They wear suits and wait without any repercussions.
High Court and the Nirupadrito inno Mantrituma
The former education minister said a family can survive on 2,500 rupees. How much do you think the value is today? Are you levelling allegations at Mahindananda Alutgamage? He is also in a suit.
Honorable Sujeva, I am quoting the news report where the president said a small group within the government is slinging mud at him. Don't become a member of this group. The president will be able to see everyone who stood up when he rewinds this recording.
අපිට සකරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ හින්දා මේ අහගන්න පුතුමා විශේෂයෙන්ම නෑ අපි දානකොට කෝප් කමිටුවේ සභාපති දැම්මේ අපි
Did I speak of your appointment? Did I speak about your footnote appointment? Did I ask who is organizing this mud campaign? We did not ask. Please sit down.
This economics class is over. We have had enough of this class. Views were expressed in Parliament today regarding currency notes signed by former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran.
There is a legal issue as to whether or not the currency notes signed by Arjuna Mahendran are valid. Can any foreign nationals sign currency in Sri Lanka? Then why can't someone from Ethiopia or Bangladesh come and do the same?
Lanka.
He is misleading the public. The signature is not being placed by Arjuna Mahendran. It is being signed by the Central Bank Governor. Bandula Gunawardena is upset because he has never had the opportunity to place his signature as the finance minister.
You can bring down foreigners and let them sign our currency, or let them steal through litro. I will not withdraw my statements. This currency is not valid.
You say it is not valid. Haven't you used this money recently?
As the government, you should intervene. If you can remove Geeta Kumar Singh from parliament for holding a dual citizenship, how can currency signed by a Singaporean national be valid? How is this 5,000 rupee note valid? We will go before courts.
The post-budget discussion on the 2018 budget proposals and development strategies organised by Ernst & Young was held in Colombo today.
As you know, currently the shipping industry has a restriction of 40% of the shares cannot be owned, beyond 40% shares cannot be owned by a foreign person. This is actually a restriction coming from the Exchange Control Act. So I think with the abolishing of the Exchange Control Act and new Exchange Management Act coming, this will go anyway naturally, but this is something that you will have some controversy and lobbying, because currently this area safety for Sri Lankans, and now their proposal is to open it out to foreigners.
My first budget as the finance minister is really about free enterprise. It's about free enterprise. It is about liberalization and globalization. The socialist mindset which was introduced, unfortunately, is still with us. So that's why I thought now the time has come to Sri Lanka to move forward and compete with the world. Some of my friends in the shipping industry are not that happy. But we have to open up and compete. In fact, look at countries like Bangladesh, where the shipping industry is open. And even in India today, 100% foreign ownership is allowed. And likewise, I think Sri Lanka also must stop being a nanny state and move forward.
State Minister of Finance Eran Wickramaratne spoke at the 2018 Budget Forum organised by KPMG in Colombo today.
The biggest risk is not to the people. I think the biggest risk is to ourselves, that we can be out of office because, as you said, we are not doing the populist things. We are doing the things which we think are in the long-term interest of the country. Government getting out of businesses that the private sector can do more efficiently needs to be recognized. If our trade unions want to own their companies, we might let them own their companies.
During the question and answer session, views were expressed regarding the new carbon emissions tax.
The tax is imposed based on the age of the vehicle and the fuel type. The procedure for the payment would be once this annual license is renewed, at the time of renewing these annual licenses, that has to be made, and these amendments will come into effect with 1st of April next year.
A new parliamentarian took up his seat today. P.S.C. Nagamage is a new MP for the Gaur district.
The new parliamentarian was sworn in to fill the vacant position left by Geeta Kumara Singha, whose parliamentary seat was lost due to her dual citizenship following a Supreme Court order. P.S. Nagamage, who received the next highest number of preferential votes in the Gaur district to Geeta Kumara Singha at the 2015 general election, took up her parliamentary seat.
හොඳයි ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමනි පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ සුභාසිංසනය මුතුමාට පුද කරනවා.
President Maithripala Sirisena, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, addressed a gathering of military personnel at the Sri Lanka Army headquarters.
Secretary of Defence Kapila Vaidyaratne, Commander of the Army Lieutenant General Mahesh Senanayaka, and more than 350 senior military personnel were present at the event.
The LTTE, which we have defeated militarily, continues to dream of an Elam state locally and overseas in a bid to divide this country. It is our responsibility to defeat this ideology. The LTTE organization and its network is raising funds and gathering in various countries in a failed attempt to raise their head. We must ensure their attempt is a constant failure. We must defeat it completely. Some say my government underestimates the Sri Lanka Army and the entire armed forces. Some even say in political fora that the government is engaged in a hunt on the veterans.
After a week of long queues, the supply of petrol across the country is returning to normal. However, reports are coming in that some locations have not yet received sufficient petrol stocks. A consignment of petrol that was aboard the tanker Neveska Lady was released for distribution last evening. Sanjeeva Vijayratna, the managing director of Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited, said as of this evening, 4,000 metric tons of petrol were released to filling stations. Since last Friday, the entire country suffered a shortage of fuel after the petrol consignment brought in by the Lanka Indian Oil Company was rejected. This led to long queues of vehicles and people with cans anticipating fuel at almost all filling stations. The Ministry of Petroleum Resources Development has commenced an inquiry on certain filling stations that suspended providing diesel when the petrol crisis arose. A vessel carrying 39,000 metric tons of petrol is expected to reach port tonight from Singapore. Sanjeeva Vijayratna, the managing director of Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited, said another Lanka IOC vessel carrying 15,000 metric tons of petrol is expected to lay anchor in Trincomalee tonight. The oil tanker Tom Astrid, which is said to have brought substandard fuel, and oil tanker Unique Developer, which alleged to be preparing to swap the substandard fuel, are currently anchored in the outer harbour of Trincomalee. When contacted, Lanka IOC said the supply will have to take a decision on Tom Astrid, which carried the consignment of substandard fuel.
On the same day, the government presented the Blue-Green Economy budget with provisions for the protection of the wildlife as per international standards. The first attempt to protect Yala Block 1 has been reversed. Only 17 days after the introduction of new regulations to reduce the number of jeeps in the park, the decision has been overturned.
The Ministry of Sustainable Development and Wildlife has decided to increase the number of safari jeeps entering the park to 500 a day. The Prime Minister had commissioned a report on the way forward to improve the overall wildlife tourism experience in Yala Block 1. The proposals had been approved.
You may ask, what about this document? DWC officials to be empowered to enforce regulations without political backlash. This was the very first proposal that is written down here. Well, as you can see, that has gone out the window from the very start. I would assume the political importance is to ensure that this resource goes on for perpetuity, that it is conserved, it is preserved, so that not only this generation, but future generations of people in the Yala vicinity, in the Tissa Maharama vicinity, benefit from Yala. At the moment, the way it is going, it's going to disappear in about 10 years.
Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Minister Sajid Premadasa, granted loans to 419 families in Tissa Maharama under the Samata 7 Sondru Nivasa loan scheme today.
419 families are benefited by this loan scheme, and around 800,000 rupees was presented today. They granted loans in bulk. The Society of Close Friends of the previous regime who obtained these loans are now avoiding paying these back. The loans were received as a result of close relationships they had with the leaders of the country. They got the loans with affordable interest rates. But if a normal citizen tried to obtain a loan, he will be burdened with high interest rates. The Lanka Putra Bank is now bankrupt. The Lanka Putra Bank was nourished with the tax you pay. The close affiliates of the leaders obtained billions and trillions of loans from the Lanka Putra Bank until it was bankrupt.
We now take a look at tonight's interpretation of the news by cartoonist Asanka Ladwahetty.
I don't know why. 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 I don't know why.
And we leave you tonight with the Parliament Cycle Safari highlights. I'm Bernadine Jayat Singha.
And I'm Shayan Jarampati. Good night and take care.